Welcome back. Live shot there in downtown Vancouver, 8:44 here on BT Vancouver, and it's a Tuesday morning. We're talking about the restaurant industry right now in the province, one of the areas that has been hit hard by COVID-19. We're going to bring in Ian Tostenson right now to get the latest. Welcome back to BT, sir.
It's a pleasure. How you doing?
I'm doing great this morning, and let's get the latest. What is happening right now with the BC restaurant industry regarding Dr. Bonnie Henry's latest directives when it comes to restaurants, pubs, bars, and patios?
So last Thursday, Dr. Henry came out and she said, look, we got to tighten this down a bit more. So we're still at 6 people per table maximum. We're still at 2 meters distance between tables. The real difference is that she's saying no table hopping. So essentially you go to the restaurant, socially, physically distance while you go to your table. You'll be directed to your, and you sit at your table, have a great time, but no table hopping and keeping your distance. We're also on ourselves today as an industry going to recommend to all restaurants for public confidences to start wearing masks and make that consistent across the board. So generally it's going quite well. Where we saw some situations in the Okanagan Valley, what that actually does translate into loss of sales. People say, you know what, I heard this, so I stay home. We have to keep upping our game and upping, the element of safety and perception and reality to make sure people continue to go and have a good time.
In terms of financial figures, can you give us a brief window into the losses across the province that the industry is facing?
So 15,000 restaurants. I would say that we're still about maybe 100,000 people unemployed out of 200,000 still in the industry because we're working at limited capacity, almost 50% plus. 2/3 of restaurants, according to Restaurants Canada poll 2 weeks ago, are not making any money, and 50% don't believe they're ever going to make any money just because of the situation. So we're doing all we can to avoid two things: is the closures of restaurants and subsequently a really, really hard time with unemployment. So that's why we just got to keep, as I say, upping the game here, making sure people feel safe and have the confidence to come to restaurants.
And news travels so fast with particular restaurants and the industry itself. Why is the public perception and public trust so important to your group?
Last week I did a talk show and people were phoning and saying, I went to a restaurant, they weren't wearing masks, they weren't following the rules, and so I'm not going back. And the answer is, well, actually they're not required to wear masks, according to Dr. Henry. But what we find is that people are more comfortable when serving staff are wearing masks. It just indicates, it's a very strong physical indicator that the restaurant is acknowledging their responsibility with respect to their staff and the public with public safety. I think that the industry's done an extraordinary job under very trying circumstances. And, we're calling out anybody that is not following the rules and doing a great job on behalf of the industry. As far as we're concerned, they can close. We'll help them close. We don't want them in the industry. We only want people that are serious about this. And as the public understands that, they'll come and enjoy themselves. And we've got some patio weather right now, which is going to really help restaurants going into the fall.
Okay, I'm glad you touched on the patio weather in the season because we're seeing more restaurants open up the outdoor space right outside. And I'm even seeing this in a lot of restaurants in Richmond. But does that open up the capacity enough to actually make a profit? Because we know how hard it is for a restaurant just to break even, let alone make some money. Is that enough opening up these patio spaces?
Yeah, so the example I used, if you have a restaurant that has 100 seats and you socially or physically distance those seats inside and you can only get 50 seats, then you can take it up the patio and see if you can spread that out. So you might get maybe 60 seats, 65 seats, maybe 70 max. At that point, there's a good chance you can break even. A number of things are going in restaurants' favor. The weather, the patios, wholesale liquor pricing, which was enacted by this government a couple of weeks ago, which is unbelievably great. And the continued emphasis on in-store dining, as well as, which I think is going to be really important in the fall, is takeout and delivery. Those experiences that you can't have in a patio, maybe you can recreate them in the fall by ordering food from your favorite restaurant home.
And as we close it out, Ian, just give us a sense of the morale in your industry with restaurant owners and staff. Is it pretty grim, or are people sort of looking at the silver lining down the road?
It's a lot of work for them. I don't think they've had a break since it started. They went through how are we going to survive to, boy, we've got a business right now. The unfortunate part is downtown Vancouver, downtown Victoria are really tough markets. There's no tourism, obviously, and Bentel 5, interesting, there's 1,300 people that work in Bentel 5. If that business was full and you had to get people up and down the elevators, it would take 13 hours. So people are avoiding working downtown. It's empty. And you're seeing sales results in downtown restaurants about 25 or 30% of last year's volumes, which is just disastrous. But as you get outside the city, you're seeing some volumes are actually over last year to some restaurant groups. So it's not all doom and gloom, but the problem is we got to put enough money in the bank in the next couple of months during the summertime to help these restaurants get through, and then hopefully we start to get some breaks early next year in terms of, whether there's a vaccination or other things going our way.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, what happens when patio season's over?
Tents.
That's right.
We need tents. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's going to be really tough. I mean, I think the patio is going to the end of October. And so then, we'll see. I think you'll see some people moving sort of covered patios and stuff. But, October through to spring is going to be it's going to be tough. We're working on how we're going to accommodate 2 small Christmas parties this year, too. So that's our next project.
Okay, lots to plan there. Ian, thanks so much for your time today.
Always. Thank you very much.
All right, you have a good day. That's Ian Tostenson, and we'll be back with